Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Spiral Up. I am your host, Nemo, and today's episode, we're going to be talking about fear and meditation, and also give you guys a little recap of what I've been doing last week, what I'm doing this week, where I'm at, what's going on, all that good stuff. But I think I've had some interesting insights over last week, leading into this week. And I think it's worth sharing, and I've learned some stuff, and knowledge is power, so I'm going to share with you guys. But before we get into the topics at hand, which is fear and meditation, I want to talk about what I've been doing last week, So last week I set some goals for myself, and I achieved them. Every single day last week I journaled. In this journal, if you are listening, I am holding up my journal. Otherwise, I've been journaling every single day, and I've also been meditating every single day. And I don't know if the video is already going to be out on my meditation video, and if you're watching or listening to this later, there will also be a video on journaling that is to come if it's not already out. But I wanted to share my insights, my journey of, journaling every single day and meditating every single day, and how that's benefiting me and how it can benefit you. Because I think these are very valuable tools that, really have a small barrier to entry, but the upside is tremendous. So definitely want to share some of that with you. But like I said, last week, I journaled every single day and I meditated every single day. And we'll talk about journaling first because it kind of ties in with that first topic of fear. But journaling every single day, it's been very insightful for myself. I've seen a lot of people journal and, a lot of different layouts and stuff. And I've kind of figured out my own method, so to say, so that when I do meditate, so that when I do journal, it's very easy and very streamlined for me to do so. So pretty much I put the date up at the top of the page, and then I got 3 main tasks that I want to complete for that day. And basically this section is at the top of the page, and it's divided into 2 main columns. The left are those specific 3 tasks with like a square box that I could mark it off. And then on the right, at the top of that column, I put why. Forget where I saw this, but I think it makes sense for us to understand the reason why we want to do something. So say I put a particular task, like make a shot list for whatever video. Why do I want to complete this task? And I think defining why you want to do a specific task, whether it's you don't have to do it for like small tasks, be it like the laundry or something, but if you have like a big main task that you want to accomplish, you should understand why you want to accomplish that and what benefits you're going to get from it. So I was doing that every single day, and it really gave insight as to why and how a particular task can really impact my life. So say it's meditating. Why do I want to meditate? Because it's going to help me be more mindful. And we'll talk more about mindfulness later when we talk about meditation, because that's what I've kind of realized, that meditation helps us become more mindful. But understanding that why will make it easier to complete a particular task, right? So I noticed that with the journaling that having that, section dedicated makes it easier to, complete a task. And then under that main section, I have a little task section, and these are just for like more smaller tasks, like cleaning or like any small task that if I'm not working on the main 3 tasks that I want to complete today, then I have these other tasks that can occupy my time. Now, some people may use an app like Todoist or whatever to organize their task, or they may just write it in reminders or something. But for me, I found that writing down the particular task just makes it that much more conscious in our mind that we're actually going to get it done. Because not only are we, thinking of the task and writing it in, we have to actually physically write it out compared to just typing, which is a bit more mindful, to say the least. But yeah, minor task. So those 2 sections take like a minute, 2 minutes, not that long at all. And it depends on whether or not, we're how in depth you want to go with thinking about your particular task that you want to accomplish or whatever. And then anyways, after that task section, I have 2 questions that I have to answer. What am I grateful for? And what should I let go of? And I really like these 2 questions because it helps us really think about what we're grateful for. I'm pretty sure you never really ask yourself this question, but asking yourself this question on a daily basis makes you a bit more mindful of like what you're grateful for, whether it's having a roof over your head or food or a job or whatever minor thing. It's good to remind ourselves that there are good things going on, since we tend to really focus on all the negative things, or at least I found that I would focus on a lot of negative things. And then that second question, what should I let go of? I thought it was very insightful to ask myself this, especially on a daily basis, because there are certain things that we hold on to or that we want to change. And being able to, ask ourselves, what should I let go of? And then writing it down. And then say the next day it's the same thing and you didn't necessarily, let go of it the day before. That'll lead you to think of, why haven't I let this go? Or why am I holding on to this? Or what's the reason why this particular thing is latching on to me, or I'm holding on to it so dearly. So what should I let go of is just a way to really think about what we're doing and be more conscious of what we're actually achieving at the end of the day. So for instance, for me, I kept writing every single day, self-distraction and self-doubt. And I found myself, more often than not, it's really hard for me to let that go, because I wrote that pretty much every single day. Self-distraction, because I'm always distracting myself. And self-doubt, believe it or not, I'm always having self-doubt. And it's like, why? And it's like I wrote that day after day after day. So having a journal where you can look back and you're seeing like, oh wow, I keep on writing self-distraction. Why have I not been able to let go of distracting myself? Why do I keep doing that? And it'll give you some form of introspection, if that's a word, introspective, on yourself, to be able to be like, okay, I am constantly not doing this one thing that I want to get rid of. How can I make this a focus next week or tomorrow or whenever, so that I can let go of it? And being reminded in my journal when I look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm still doing the same thing, kind of puts things in a bit of perspective. So, yeah. So those are the two questions that I ask myself each day, or that I did ask myself each day. And I want to answer those. And that also takes another like 2 minutes. So we're at a total of like 4 minutes so far. And then I have a journal prompt. And I mainly got these questions from Lavender. And if you don't know who she is a YouTuber influencer who focuses on like self-development, self-help, organization, bullet journaling, like all that good stuff. But in one of her journals that she sells, she has a section in the book where there's 30 questions, 30 journaling prompts that I find are pretty insightful, and makes it very easy to know what you need to journal. Because I think that's also something that I was concerned about. Because when you hear like, oh, you got to write a journal, you're like, man, I don't even know what I'm going to write about. Like, do I just start writing whatever comes to mind? Do I start writing about pizza? Do I start talking about whatever? But having some kind of guidance makes journaling so much easier, which is why I was able to, I've been able to journal every single day because I have a structure. I write my tasks that I want to get done, why I want to do them, minor task, 2 questions that I need to answer, and then this journaling prompt. Then I could write, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 5 sentences, however much I feel, and then I'm done. Close it up, boom, done journaling for the day. So some of the journaling prompts that I wrote this past week were, what is going right in my life right now? What lessons have I learned in the past 3 months? Who do I admire and why? Write a love letter to myself. What am I grateful for? What do I constantly think or worry about? These were all different prompts, and it promoted a different type of thinking that I don't necessarily think of on a day-to-day basis. Like, who do I admire and why? I never think about that. And then having to actually think about it and write it down in my journal, it makes you think of or learn something about yourself that you don't necessarily think about, Write a love letter to myself. That prompt was pretty fun. When was the last time you wrote a love letter to yourself? Probably never. And maybe you did when you were younger or when you were a kid, but, there's something about these journal prompts and having a structure and putting the pen to paper, pencil to paper, and physically writing out on a daily basis my thoughts down to paper that I found so insightful. And I feel like I learned so much about myself. And this has only been 7 days. It's only been 7 days really of me journaling. Well, I guess today was the 8th day because I already filled out. Today was the 26th. So I already, figured out today's journal prompt, and just the amount of information that I've learned about myself is just so insightful. And in combination with meditation, I feel like I'm understanding myself better. I'm understanding my state of being, how I can handle myself on a day-to-day basis, why I'm making certain decisions that I'm making, why I'm not making certain decisions that I'm not making, and understanding who I am, So journaling has been very insightful, and it has brought me to realize that I have a ton of fear and self-doubt. And so that's what we're going to jump into, is fear and self-doubt. What is fear? Fear it comes in many shapes and forms, right? We all have fear of the dark, or fear of inaction, or fear of whatever. But why do we have it? Is it to protect us? Is it because we're afraid of failing? Now, that right there is something that I was thinking about for myself. My fear usually leads to self-doubting myself, or it leads to me not taking action on something. But if I'm not taking action on something, why am I not taking action on something? And usually it's because I have a fear of potentially failing, or feel a fear of judgment. But it's like, why? Because what I've come to realize, especially after journaling each particular day, like I didn't do something one day because I was like doubtful or fearful of like actually starting, or completing this video idea that I had in my head. But it's like the only person who cared about it in that moment, or even knew about whatever it is that I was doing, was myself. Nobody else knows that I didn't achieve whatever task that I set myself out for. Nobody knows that fear that I had of not wanting to click publish on a video. Only myself. And because nobody knows about any of that, nobody really cares. No one cares about something that they don't know about, right? So if no one cares and I'm fearful because of something that they don't know, why am I fearful? Because it's all internal, right? I'm having this self-doubt. And the self-doubt is causing me not to take action. But if I took the action, if I did the particular thing, which I did do on a few things, and put it out there, and then the same reaction happens where no one truly cares, or people praised whatever it might have been, or people may have had a comment and then they went on about their day, that's the worst thing that happened? So why was I fearful in the first place? Why are we our own self-critic? Why do we put so much self-doubt on ourselves when in reality, if we didn't have that self-doubt or that fear, and we just blindly took action on everything that comes into our mind, we would achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve, and we would actually feel good about it. Because it's like, this is what I wanted to do. This is the idea I had, and I went and executed it, and I did it. What do I have to fear? And we focus on the non-action, the not doing stuff. And we make that such a big, prevalent part, or at least I've made that such a big focus. But then I'm not praising all the wins that I have. There were so many things that I accomplished or I achieved, but I'm focused on my fear, my non-action, my not doing what it is that I said I wanted to do. But I did all these other things, but they're not getting the recognition they deserve in my own mind, which would in turn help me reevaluate myself in, I've achieved this, or I've done this. Why am I, being so stressed or like not, why am I so worried about not doing these particular things when I did all these other things? So going back to my journal, it was really fun to look back at my week. And this is another thing with journaling. You can, if you take the time and look back and self-reflect, and I'm going to keep doing that every single week, self-reflect on the previous week, I wrote a list of all the things that I did. And I was like, whoa, I actually did quite a bit of stuff last week, which is really cool. But I was so focused on the things I didn't do that I didn't even give myself recognition to all the stuff that I did do. And then you come to realize it's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is you're making progress. So why even dwell on this fear or this self-doubt? Just can you continue taking action? And yeah, acknowledge that you didn't do something, right? Acknowledge that you messed up or didn't focus on whatever task. That's okay. But what are you going to do about it? Okay, you're going to do it tomorrow. Cool. Don't beat yourself up about it. And I would find myself beating myself up about stuff, even though I've been achieving things, little wins here and there. But I wouldn't have had any of this introspection. I feel like that's not the introspective, insight. I think I'm using the word correctly. Okay, I'm going to use insight because that makes more sense in my head. But I wouldn't have had the insight that I have had this past week if I didn't take the time to actually journal. And so, if I can say anything, is we should be journaling. We should be, writing down whatever it is that we're doing or accomplishing and, just getting our thoughts to paper. That way we can reflect on it. Because I think that is something we're not doing, right? We're not reflecting on the things that we've already done. Because we're not reflecting on the things that we've already done, we're missing out on the greatness of ourselves. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Okay. So, with all that being said, that's the first portion. We're going to take a little break here. And then when we come back, I want to talk about my meditation practice that I've been doing and how it is benefiting me in ways that I didn't even think were possible. And some of the things that I spoke about with the whole fear, self-doubt, and letting things go and, being aware of it and then just moving on comes from my meditation practice and what I've been learning what meditation is and what it isn't, and how I'm actually planning to make a video on it to, better bring understanding to meditation for people, because I think people may have meditation like thoughts about meditation like that aren't truly valid. Like they think meditation is something that it really isn't, or they think it's this complex thing. They think it's super complicated or it takes a long time to be profound, but I don't think it is, because I've only been meditating for eight days now and I see the benefits. But everybody's timeline's different, And maybe it's because I fully am surrendering myself to the practice at hand that I'm making it worth my time, So we're going to dive into meditation and, we'll take a quick break here and, we come back. I'll tell you my experience so far and how I want to share it with the world. But, thank you guys for listening so far. We'll be back shortly. Okay, we are back, and we're going to talk about meditation. Now, I've been meditating for 8 days now, and obviously consistency is key, but even if you aren't consistent with meditating once or twice is better than not at all. And I've come to learn that our mind is a tool, and it is something that we have, that it's the only thing most people don't train at all, even though it's being trained every single day. And I'll explain that. Every day. Wait. Before I get ahead of myself. Now, people go to the gym, right? And we train our bodies, right? We lift out, we work out, we lift weights, or we go exercise. We're training our bodies, right? And you can train your body at age 5, 10, 30, 40. You can always get active, right? We can always change our diet. And that's something that people always focus on, right? Our bodies, being healthy. But are we doing the same with our mind? No, we aren't. What we're doing with our mind is similar to people, what they're doing with their bodies if they're just only focusing, not working out, not doing anything, and they're just eating like junk food all the time. And, in the moment, you may not think anything of it, but you're like, ooh, let me have this bag of Doritos. This is good. This is yummy, right? But if you have a bag of Doritos constantly, every single day, over and over and over, 1 year, 2 year, 3, 4, 5 years pass, then you're going to start having more and more complications because it compounded into a negative habit that you didn't even realize that was the path you were going down, right? And we all know this. If you eat junk food every single day forever, it's going to lead to some bad things. But our bodies are resilient. Our bodies will last a very long time, right? You wonder, people who are super out of shape or overweight or, just eating super unhealthy, but they're living pretty long. They could live pretty long lives. They could live longer lives than people who are super healthy, right? So it's like a weird paradox to think about, but yeah, the person can survive. Our bodies are resilient. People can gain 150 pounds and lose 100 pounds, and it's crazy. So the same thing that we do with our bodies applies to our minds, but no one really talks about this because I didn't know about this, and it's something that I had to seek out and learn myself, right? And it's like, why do we not know this ourselves? And I actually think I figured out why. Attention comes from our mind, right? But people don't realize that attention is wealth. And you might be thinking, what do you mean? Attention is wealth? Yes, attention is wealth. Why is YouTube so successful, right? Because millions and millions of people give it attention every single day. Why did Instagram and Facebook, or even right now TikTok, why is TikTok blowing up so much? Is because there's a tremendous amount of attention on this app. Why is Amazon the biggest company in the world? Because of the attention it receives. When someone wants to order something, they go straight to Amazon, right? They don't think about anything else. It's like, oh, Where'd you get that? Is it on Amazon? Is it on Amazon? The attention. Attention is wealth. If you go back to, you know, I don't know, Egyptian days or like thousands of years ago, whoever had the most attention usually was the most powerful, right? And it's crazy that it still applies to today. And the reason why it applies to today is because attention comes from our minds, right? And we don't realize that we give away our attention to so many different things, right? You be on YouTube, then your phone, and then you're watching this movie, and then you're doing this, you're doing that, you go to work, and then your attention's here, blah, 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 blah. And we never spend the time to really not take that attention back, but to be more mindful of our attention, to be more mindful of how we're spending our time or what we're actually paying attention to, you know? And people hear meditation, or even people who try out meditation, it's very hard for them to do so. It was very hard for me the first day, and it still is hard, but I feel like I'm getting better at it, even though it's only been 8 days. But the first time you try to meditate, you're trying to, sit still, or, you're trying to, enter your mind, right? But it's something you haven't done for 20, 15, 30, however many years. You haven't taken the time to focus on the mindfulness of your mind, or the attention of your mind, or your consciousness, because it's been so externally stimulated for so long that when you're sitting down and you're just trying to go within your mind, it's very hard. And so you might wonder, so what? Meditating is going to help me be more mindful? It's going to make me be more calm? And this was something that I also realized meditating, that a lot of people think meditating just makes you this Zen, super calm, monk-like focus. Like you're in this Zen state when you're meditating. But that's not the goal of meditation. The goal of meditation is to be more mindful of your attention. To be more mindful of your attention. Now, you might hear that and think, what does that mean? How can you be mindful of your attention? Let me give you a story. And this was a story that I heard today that gave me even further insights of how, I keep burping, but it gave me further insights of really how valuable our attention is. So, say you're a parent and you have your phone, right? And you get an email, and it's an important email. And you pull out your phone and you're reading this email. And right at this moment, your daughter, who's 5 years old, comes up to you and wants to tell you a story. Now, in this moment, your attention is on this email, right? And a lot of people go throughout their lives, who knows how important this email is, right? But you're giving it your full attention, and you may completely ignore your daughter that's trying to tell you a story. But you may not even realize that your daughter was trying to get your attention in that moment because this email is super important. And because it's so important, you shoo her off and you ignore her or whatever, and then you continue. But in that moment, that attention What's the email? Not to the developing child, right? And that could be just one instance. It could be later on you're watching a movie or you're watching TV or, you're cooking something or you're on the phone with somebody. And there's all these things throughout the day that are competing for our attention, right? It could be a phone. It could be, this or your friend, your spouse, whatever. The TV, the apps, the notifications, everything wants our attention. But it's up to us to be more mindful of where our attention goes. So that little moment with the daughter, she was ignored. She may have been hurt in that moment, and then she runs away, right? Does something else. And you're stuck in your email, you reply to your email, and then you look up and you don't even remember or don't even realize that you ignored your daughter at that moment, right? And this happens to people all the time. All the time. A lot of parents, I've even seen it, and people don't realize that they completely ignored their child. Their attention wasn't there and they weren't even, aware of it. But doing that over and over, week after week, day after day on little things, it could be, a bedtime story. It could be, not brushing your teeth or not paying attention to this or that. And when that daughter grows up, they may have some kind of resentment or something may, they may be seeking more attention. Say like for me, if it was me, I'm the father, right? I'm ignoring my daughter. My attention was in my phone. In her mind, she may see that and see oh, my dad's attention was more focused on the phone. So now when I'm older, I want to seek attention through technology to get men's attention because I didn't get my father's attention. There's all these little ripple effects, right? But what meditating does, it helps us be more mindful of the things that come into our conscious state, right? So in that moment now, if we would have been having a practice of meditation and we're more mindful now, we're more mindful of our consciousness, our state of being. And when things are coming in from different, stimulants, we're aware of that and we can choose to acknowledge them and choose not to acknowledge them, choose to change our attention from this thing to something else. So we get that email, we're reading it, Daddy, Daddy. Now we completely shift our attention from our phone, our email, because we're mindful and we know that in this moment, our daughter needs our attention. So now we give her the undivided attention that she needs. And it could be a little story, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, however long this story might be. And then she runs off. And now we can bring our attention back to this email that didn't go anywhere, that was there, that was competing for our attention. Oh my gosh, excuse me. But our email that was competing for our attention, now we can have it back and now we can reply. But we also fulfilled our daughter's need for attention, all because we were more mindful of that situation. And little moments like that add up. And when you're older, now your daughter has a great relationship, with you because you gave that attention in that moment. And this story not only applies to little children who want attention all the time, but it can be applied to relationships, at work, anything, right? If we're more mindful that our spouse needs our attention at this moment, we can give them that attention because whatever it is at hand, whatever we're doing in that moment, is it really that important? We can shift our attention where we decide it should go instead of it being taken and controlled from us, which you find people being sucked into social media or into this or that. If you're choosing to do so, that's fine, right? But the state of meditation just makes us more mindful of just everything, you know? And so people think, okay, meditation is going to make me super calm and zen all the time. It's like, no. Meditation allows us to be more mindful of how we also react to particular things. You can meditate if it's super loud and busy outside. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's like, if there's 1,000 people talking or if you're by yourself. We are in our own conscious mind, and we can be aware of the outside surroundings, and we can acknowledge the noise of all the people talking. And we can also acknowledge the wind or the sound of our breath or whatever in any moment. And that is what I've determined that is true practice of meditation. Obviously, as I'm meditating more and more, it's becoming more and more easy to be aware of our conscious state, and being more aware of how I'm being mindful with my attention. So like earlier, I was talking about self-doubt and, being upset at myself for not doing those particular things, and taking meditation and mindfulness from the practice to those moments. It's allowing me to be like, okay, I'm upset that I didn't achieve that particular task. Okay. Don't dwell on it. What am I going to do next? What am I going to do now? Now that I acknowledge that, yeah, I'm giving myself self-doubt or I'm being fearful. What am I going to do now? I don't want to be fearful forever. Everything is temporary. Happiness, pain, sadness, angry. Being mindful of it is great. You should acknowledge that anger. But do you need to keep it for extended moments or extended periods of time? No. We acknowledge it. And now what are we going to do? So it's just our state of conscious is already open and free flowing, right? Because at any moment you are being bombarded with whatever and whatever. Somebody can just yell at me right now, and it's like, whew, that's just a huge immediate impact on my conscious state. But I could be mindful of it and be like, okay, just keep it going. Why dwell on it? If I want to take action on something, then I should. And speaking on the whole mindfulness and state of consciousness, today, so this is the 8th day of meditating. Immediately after, I wrote what I felt, right? And it was this weird thing that I just want to read it on how I felt after my meditation today, which was, I thought it was pretty cool. And it was something I haven't felt before. And it's weird to try and articulate, like meditation. Obviously, it's different for every single person. Mindfulness, being aware of your consciousness and stillness and awareness and all this other stuff that I'm talking about. It's all different. Everybody varies. But I just want to tell you about what I experienced today. And so after I finish, I felt this stillness and awareness. I looked down to my arms, hands and legs as I was sitting in a chair. And I felt this energy around them, and also the stillness as I was just in my mind and not actually feeling my hands, my legs, my hands, but I was conscious that they were there. I felt like my body was a vessel and that I was just in it, just being in it in my mind. And that I can interact with whatever I choose, whether it is unconsciously or consciously. And the way I thought about this was like, we don't think about walking or breathing or grabbing something or, listening to this or hearing what we're hearing. It just happens. It's like we just go and pick up this pen. And why do we do that? Our brain had to make that decision somewhere, right? We're not completely conscious of it, but it's an unconscious action that did happen. There was a decision there in our mind. So our brain makes that decision. So we are not conscious of it, yet we are conscious of it. And I just thought that was like a cool feeling to like really think about today. And it's something that I experienced, and I was just like, wow, like, would I have felt this a week and a half ago? No. And my meditation practice, I've been using this app by Sam Harris. It's called Waking Up. And going through it each day, I see that in the future, I'm going to feel more and more benefits from it, right? Being more mindful. And I could see how, Oprah, Bezos, Elon Musk have used meditation for their advantage. I know Elon Musk, he meditates every single day. And his success isn't from the meditation. It isn't from, his particular decisions. It's his mindfulness, right? His mindfulness to be control of his own attention. And he spends his attention on whatever specific task that he's doing at that moment. He's not wasting the time being distracted. He is fully in control of his mind. So when he's going to work at SpaceX or at Tesla or going to Solar City or the Boring Company or all the other things that he's doing, people are like, how is he able to do all these things? He's able to do all these things because he is mindful of the attention that they need. And when he is at those particular sections, moments, buildings, whatever, he gives it its full, undivided attention. If he's in an interview, he's in that interview. If you ask him a question, he takes the time to think about that question. Attention is wealth. Whew, man. I could talk. I'm going to give myself some praise. I'm just like rambling off like gems, Damn. Crazy. So this week, today actually, I plan on making a video on meditation on my main channel. And so if you're listening to this and you want to check that out, it should be on the main channel. If it's not there, then that means I haven't made it yet, but eventually it will be there. And it's going to be talking about everything kind of what I've talked about in this podcast. And because I just want to share it, but I want to make it so it's like, in my style that I see in my head, that I've been seeing. And so that's what I'm going to be working on today, maybe tomorrow, whatever. And I also have some other videos in mind that I want to do this week. And other challenges. Like I think this week I'm going to really Well, I need to finish my how journaling has been improving my life video, my meditation video. But I'm also drinking a gallon of water each day. So I want to share my experience with that to people. So I'm going to be doing that. And yeah, it's crazy how meditation and journaling are two simple things, but it can bring profound understanding to ourselves that can lead to whatever we want it to lead to, because we're so convoluted with so much outside stimulation that we aren't really fully within our own mind. Like, do you even like what you like? Or were you told to like what you like? I've been wondering that myself. Like, what do I really like? What do I really want? What excites me? You know, what is my style? Or is everything just constantly being influenced? And I think that's what meditation is going to help be mindful of, all these stimulants, because you're like, how are these successful people, so authentically them, right? They don't have too much outside stimulation influencing their thought process. They do take everything in, they acknowledge it, and they're mindful, but they still do what they want to do. They still have their vision, they still have their focus. And I think meditation is going to get me there, along with journaling. So yeah, I don't even know how long I've been talking, but hopefully there's some insight there. Hopefully you may be picking up what I'm putting down. Hopefully you'll start meditating. But if you listen to this far, I want to know who you are. So if you're listening to the podcast, just head over to YouTube, leave a comment on how this has impacted you, what you've learned. Also, I would love for you to rate this podcast for me and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah. Everybody has to start somewhere, right? So I really appreciate you guys if you've listened through this whole podcast. So thank you guys for listening. And if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. And until next time, you found me. Peace.